Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Ishvaro Gururabhyeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Lomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha-jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Vishruniyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Shushtvagum Sastanovihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti na Taksho Arishkanemihi Swasti no Brihadspatir Dadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Any knowledge is only as true as the object of knowledge. And it is dependent on time. Because the object itself is dependent on time. In a few minutes, here you will see the sun rise in the east. In Singapore, it's already risen, I'm sure. And a little later, you will see the sun overhead. It has changed. Space has changed. By evening, you will see it in the west of yourself. You're the geocenter. So standing on this earth, from within that one position, one concludes, one draws a knowledge, it's a knowledge drawn from inference, that the sun moves from the east to the west. But that is a very limited knowledge. The viewpoint is from the earth. Suppose you're able to take flight and look at the whole thing from space, you will see that this is not true. The sun is not moving from east to west. Completely new realization takes place. Every knowledge is like that. You see a pot now, in time the pot breaks. You don't see the pot anymore. You see only shards. Any knowledge is only as true as the object of knowledge, which itself varies with time and place. If this is so, is there any knowledge at all which remains unchanging? Even our own thoughts, the philosophies we come up with, the values we come up with, everything changes. I read somewhere Swami Chinmayananda saying, take Europe. Europe goes through some big changes in terms of war, and philosophies change. You get new philosophers coming in, giving in new either values or new philosophies. Some cataclysmic event takes place, philosophies change, values change. Given all this, is there a knowledge which does not change? Interesting point to think about. I am right now a waker. This waker cannot enter the dream state. He has no entry allowed in the dream state till he transforms into somebody else, a dreamer. I cannot be a waker and a dreamer. In fact, from the waker, you never can become dreamer. From the waker, you become a sleeper. The waker has no entry to Sushupti Sthanam also. And Sushupti Sthanam we define in Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad. Where there are no desires, no feelings, no swapna. Swapna cannot be there. If you are in deep sleep, swapna is not possible. Everything is shut out. This fellow Steve Smith, at one time the Australian captain, cricket captain, did something which was not acceptable. But they have these DRS systems. On the field, if you're given out, you can ask for a decision review system. So the third umpire watching on the TV screen gives a pronouncement out or not out. In ask whether you can ask for system or not, because there are only limited chances you get to ask for this. You're batting on the field, you cannot consult anybody other than your batting partner. What he did was looked up at the team in the pavilion and wanted them to signal, because they would have seen it on the TV screen. And he was caught doing that. He said he came up with a nice phrase. He had brain fade. In deep sleep, brain shut down. No thinking. If your systems other than prana must work normally. If prana does not, prana means prana, apana, etc., all the 5 pranas must work normally. If they don't work normally, you cannot be in Sushupti. When you have a breathing problem, it's a very common problem many people have. Every time, and I also suffered with this. As long as you're vertical, it's not bad. You lie down, you start struggling to breathe. So you have a choice either of standing, sleeping like a horse, or not sleeping at all. Because if this process is not going through smoothly, there cannot be Sushupti. You feel any pain ultimately in the buddhi only. The nerves carry the signal and buddhi decides you're in pain. And when the buddhi is shut down, buddhi is not part of the prana system. We will see why prana system is important to continue. There can be no sushupti. In fact, somebody told me once, he had this problem of breathing while sleeping. So what he did was, he said, let me try taking a sleeping medicine. And he said, I really got into a trisangu. I could neither sleep nor remain awake. The breathing won't let me sleep, and the medicine won't let me remain awake. Deep sleep means all systems other than prana are shut down. We are going through the state of being awake, hopefully something like 15, 16 hours in a day, from which we go into the Sushupti Sthanam, where the Sthula Sharira and the Sukshma Sharira are both shut down. Buddhi is part of the Sukshma Sharira, not available. If you were to draw a diagram, from waking, you can go to Sushupti Sthanam. It's a double arrow. You can come back to waking hours, waking time, waking state. So from the Sushupti, you can go back to waking. From Sushupti, you can also go to Swapna. From waking, you can only go up to Sushupti. You cannot, there is no arrow available for you to go to Swapna. From Sushupti, you can go here or here. What happens in Swapna? From deep sleep, the individual has gone to Swapna. From Swapna, you can either go back to Sushupti or wake up. You know, sometimes people say, I remember my dream reasonably distinctly. This probably happens when from the Sushupti Sthanam, you move to Jagrat Sthanam. Because if you go to Sushupti from there, then go to Jagrat, the chances are you won't remember anything of the dream. Because in Sushupti, you have to necessarily shut down everything that you had in Jagrat. Same thing with Swapna. In Swapna, all the that you had in Jagrat has to be laid to rest so that you can create a new Jagat. Otherwise, look at the confusion. You have a time scale in Jagrat Avastha. Then you go to Swapna Avastha, you have a different time scale. There will be a lot of confusion. You have to close this and then go there. To close this, you have to go to Sushupti. Then go to Swapna. Each is mutually exclusive. So if I am the waker, I cannot be the dreamer. And if I am the dreamer, I can neither be the waker nor the sleeper. Then am I the waker? Or am I the dreamer? Or am I the sleeper? Which one am I? Or does the I keep changing? It become from dreamer to sleeper to something else. Then you have multiple identities. That is also not logical. The knowledge that I have of myself, if it is the knowledge of the waker, or the dreamer, or the sleeper, it's all changing. They also become objects of knowledge. If they are objects of knowledge, none of them can be I. So there has to be another I, which is common in all of these. An I which is in and through the waker, in and through the sleeper, in and through the dreamer. Our attempt is to try and understand this common I, which is unchanging. I can't see the reason. How do I gain knowledge of I? This I is myself. How am I going to gain this knowledge of I? This I is avikara. Doesn't change at all. Therefore, I have some hope that sooner or later, I, the individual, will understand I, the avikara vastu. But that doesn't change. So there is hope. Clearly, when this understanding comes, I, the individual, cannot be there anymore. I, the individual, is a sleeper, is a dreamer, is a waker. But I, the individual, is not I, the avikara vastu. Or let us rephrase it. I, the individual, is the avikara vastu. But if I stop at saying I, the dreamer, waker, and sleeper, I limit my knowledge. I have to figure out what is this unchanging thread. An individual's life is only this whole cycle. Waker, sleeper, dreamer, waker. Waker, sleeper, dreamer, or waker, sleeper, waker. Waker, sleeper, dreamer, waker. Round and round and round is the only experience we know. In our attempt to understand each of these, we often do not look at what is that one unchanging connection. We don't even examine that. So the Shastra gives us an opportunity to do that. Our life is full of this. I have gone to sleep I am in a state of Ananda, natural Swarupananda. But I don't know because my brain is shut down. That's the only place where I can gain this knowledge. Shut down. If I could come to a state where I am in the state of Ananda and I know it, that's moksha. But in deep sleep, I am only a mass of ignorance. Doesn't matter, Swami G. Even if I don't know it, I am in that state of natural Swarupananda. Why can't I just stay there? So, Brahmaji tells Arshavidyalaya, you need to put that, that's not possible. Deep sleep, doesn't know anything of the world. A lot of things are happening all around him. No awareness of any of these things. He is sleeping in pure Ananda. Then, Punashcha Janmantara Karma Yoga.
Punashcha Janmantara Karma Yoga.
Go on. Punashcha Janmantara Karma Yoga.
Punashcha Janmantara Karma Yogat.
Sayeva Jivasvapiti Prabuddha.
Sayeva Jiva Savipiti.
Puratraye Kridati Yascha Jivaha.
Puratraye Kridati Yascha Jivaha.
Tatastatam Sakalam Vichitram.
ततस्तु जातं सकलं विचित्रम्
Adharamanandamakhanda-bodham.
आधारमानन्दमखण्डबोधम्
Yasmin layang vyati puratrayancha.
यस्मिल्लयन् याति पुरत्रयं च
Punahacha. Punahacha means once again. From that deep sleep state, it comes back to a state of either swapna or jagrat. Punaha means after something. After what? Ananda ātmatattva prapya bhuyaha api. Having gained that Ananda Swarupa, Punaha, after that, why does he come back? Why can't he just stay there? A jiva took this sharira, this sukshma sharira, and the appropriate, this sthula sharira and appropriate sukshma sharira, in order to experience certain karma phala. You have earned it. You have to enjoy the karma phala. So you come into this jagat with a certain sharira. You come at a certain time, at a certain place, to a certain parents, in certain society. And in that sharira, you have to experience the karma phala of whatever you have done and is given to you as prarabdha karma. Now that doesn't get exhausted in one day. It might get exhausted in one day, but mostly it doesn't take. On an average, a human life is well over 60 years. And every day you have to go to sleep. what happens to the rest of the karma phala? They've already been released. Some of them you can experience in dream by creating your own jagat. Some of them you experience during the waking hours. But there's still a whole lot left. If you don't wake up, how are you going to experience those? You have to experience. This karma phala relationship is inevitable. In fact, karma phala, another name for karma phala is satyam. You cannot not experience it. Whether you like it or you don't like it, whether nice experience or not so nice experience. So you can't go to sleep and say, I don't want to get up. You will be made to get up. By what? By you. By the karma that you have done and which you have now carried as karma phala in this janma. Punascha janmantara karma yogat. By the karma that you have done, which is now fructifying as karma phala, as prarabdha karma, done in the, not just the previous janma, janmantara karma yoga. Perhaps in several janmas. I mean, how do you pick? I have so many janmas, so much karma is waiting there. How do you pick a certain karma phala for this janma? You cannot experience all in one go. You have to experience only small things at a time. Now, which authority decides which ones you get for this janma, I don't know. And I have not been able to find out. But the fact is, only a certain portion of that is allocated for experiencing in this janma. Appropriately, you get a sharira. You can get any sharira, an animal sharira, and you have infinite varieties of animals. Every day we're discovering new species. Or you could take a deva sharira and go and live in a denizen of some other loka. Or you could get manusha sharira. And in manusha sharira, you've seen how much variation there is possible. So each of these sharira can experience only a certain limited karma phala. This karma phala you have to experience. That small limited amount allocated to the jiva has to be experienced over whatever period it's been allocated for. It's allocated for only a few days after birth, crib deaths, which allocated for the jiva to experience over a long time, 80 years, 100 years, 110 years. Not under your control. It's been allocated to you. You did it, but it's not under your control now. So, and when a person experiences whatever he's experienced in the daytime and then in the swapna and goes to sleep, has to wake up in order to exhaust the karma phala. Punascha janmantara karma yogat. The Tikagara says, Saeva ananda ātmaswarupam prapta eva shushuptam gataha. After shushupti is over, natu anya, the same thing. Punascha janmantara karma yoga. And then he says, Saeva jivaha. The same jiva. The one who has the prana. That's why now we understand why prana has been maintained. All the systems have to be running properly, so that the jiva can be awake to the next day. Saeva jiva. The same jiva. The same jiva which went to sleep. Saeva jiva. Swapiti prabuddha. Swapiti here means it went to sleep. It can also mean dream. Wakes up. Prabuddha. Now this is easy to understand. Because from swapna you wake up. You recognize the swapna as mithya. It was there. It is not there. That is mithya, no? Maya, we said. Ya ma sa maya. It is there, it is not there. If only we can apply the same thing to my waking, which I think is absolutely real. In sleep, when I was dreaming, I think that is real. But prabuddha samaye, prabodha samaye, advitiyam, advayam, swatmanamem advayam. When you wake up from there, the same jivatma is advayatma. It is the same atma. How do you start? The verse. Vishvam darpana drishyamana nagari. The whole world is only like a reflection. Tulyam nijantargatam. Same thing happens inside. Pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivod. Bhutam yatha nidraya. Yasakshat kurute prabodha samaye. Swatmanamevadvayam. Same thing. When you wake up from the dream into the waking state, you recognize the mithyatvam of the dream. When you can wake up from this waking state, you recognize yourself as Advitiya Brahman. Beautifully captured. Same jiva, same Pranabadharaka. Swapiti, either Shushupti or Swapnavastha. Prabuddha, Prabodham Jagaranam Prapto Bhavati. When he wakes up. These are all changing. But in those three states, there has to be an unchanging absolute against which you can say these changes are taking place. Otherwise, how will you measure change? Change has to be against an absolute. That is why, even though we don't actually recognize I as the Sakshi, you're able to make a statement like, I slept well. You cannot make the statement in Shushuptisthana. You cannot make any statement. But when you come back to Jagrat Avastha, just like you can say, I had a good dream or I had a nightmare, you can also say, I had a good sleep. That recognition is there, but what is the I we are talking about when we do this? We are still talking about the individual. We haven't recognized I, the absolute. From this point on, Brahmaji says, please look at yourself. Please first look at the absolute. Then recognize that the absolute has to be I. He's telling Arshavidyalaya, who is a great erudite scholar, and through him to all of us. What is that unchanging thing? Mandika Upanishad calls it Turiya. It is not a fourth state. There are only three states. Although Mandika Upanishad calls it this Om as Chatushpad. In and through each of these states is that Sakshi, that I. Without that, there is no Sushupti, there is no Swapna, there is no Jagra. Just like everything in the Swapna Avastha, thoughts, feelings, ideas, stones, mountains, other people, everything exists only because of the dreamer's Nyapti. Projected from. So there has to be this recognizable conclusion that there is an I, which is unchanging with in and through all the three states. That I, Puratraye Kridati, it sports between these three states. Makes you a waker, makes you a dreamer, makes you a sleeper. When I'm awake, if I can recognize this I, separate from the waker, you cannot, I keep repeating, physically separate the I from the waker. You cannot physically separate the I from the sleeper. You cannot physically separate the I from the dreamer. But if you can understand the waker is I, the dreamer is I, the sleeper is I, but I am none of them. The actor who plays the role of a king, a beggar, a common man, he can say, that king is I, that common man is I, that beggar is I am none of them. From here on, the Upanishad takes us into the realm of understanding the nature of I by bringing us through the three states, and for us to understand that the three states are all changing states. And I am looking for the one that is unchanging, which we will look at in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.